Welcome to Across the Desk and our new series in partnership with Maddie Dever, the Autistic Rambler. Maddie is a non-binary autistic advocate engaged in political advocacy, a parent of 5, and a very funny person. I think we're going to have a lot to talk about, and we look forward to you joining the conversation. Now let's get to rambling.
Value.
Good for you, she says very quietly. So hello and welcome to Across the Desk. We're having another impromptu autistic rambler because of course Maddie said something very smart and very insightful, and I said we have to press record, and they just smiled and said, okay, let me get some water. And so here we are. So hello, Maddie Betty Cookie.
Well, hello there.
I don't have enough nicknames.
Hello there, my great friend Elizabeth.
Free friend. I shaved.
Did I say? I said great. It's great, great friend.
Oh, well, I like that better than furry. I mean,
Yes,
no
I'm
offense
the
to
more
the
free
furry
one.
community, but
Yes.
yeah, I'm definitely not a furry person. So what we had sort of stumbled into, because we haven't actually made out our May chatty chat list yet, was about value. And what's really intriguing is Maddie said something that a lot of people struggle with, which is finding your value, and not necessarily your personal value, but
Mhm.
when, like Maddie and I, being entrepreneurs and doing a bunch of different things, um, you struggle a little bit to move from the employee mindset to the entrepreneur mindset, and value comes along with that. And one thing that happens quite frequently within the autism community is autistic individuals get asked to be speakers and get asked to do this and get asked to do that for an honorarium, which is typically like $100 or something ridiculous. And I know I was unaware of that and have since become more of a campaigner for fairness. But how can individuals who are trying to build a business or, build a side gig, like whatever it is, establish their own value when they're being devalued by the very people who want to hear from them or claim to want to hear
Yeah,
from them? Hopefully it's
yeah,
not tokenism, but anyway, so
yeah. I
go,
was gonna say
go, Betty.
it's yeah. The whole concept of being a token is so strongly we've been feeling it for years. Like many times we're asked our opinions or brought into things, and sometimes it's felt like just to be a checkbox that they've talked to an autistic, and we
Yeah.
haven't seen things through. Like now that more and more organizations, whether they're autism organizations or whether they're community associations or businesses, like they are looking for people with lived experience and want to actually pay them for that. And this is it's a good thing. I'm seeing it more and more and more. But the one of the challenges, and I think this falls into line the whole concept of self advocacy that autistics really struggle for is like, in this case, like we've struggled about understanding our own value, like our value to society, our value in different things, because it's so many things are done for us and to us, and we end up feeling lesser than because of these experiences. So now that we're getting some interest in people really wanting to positively engage us, it's hard for us to sort of set that aside and figure out, well, what when if people
What does
ask,
that mean?
well, how much do you want for an honorarium? When you're first starting to do this, you're left with I have no idea. um and it's like I was I think it was what sort of set this podcast on is I have um always felt comfortable selling myself, the things that I'm doing, the things that I'm interested in. I can get people interested in me. I hate, I hate selling things, but I can talk about what I'm interested in, and I can make that connection. but it hasn't been really until this year that I've been comfortable with talking with the money part of things. Talking about money is always been a uncomfortable subject.
Hmm.
Because do I want to say, what if I say it too much, or what if I say not enough? I've been off and on an entrepreneur since I was 12, but really since I was when I was 19, I opened up 18. Yeah, I was 18. I opened up a computer store. Um, figuring out figuring out pricing for products was easy. Figuring out pricing for services was hard. Um, but this year, I the last 2 years, I've little bit asked to do more and more advocacy that I've been paid for, and I now am comfortable and confident in the track record of what I've been doing, that I'm actually comfortable now talking about the money part, because I realize, and one of the things I talk about a lot when I do these talks is
Is the
that
value of what?
we as autistics, we have value because we exist. Every one of us has an inherent value, and we don't our value doesn't come in, you know, from what we can do and what we can't do and the money we make and whatnot. However, the experience that we have is a different value. And there is a all experience everywhere has some value to it. And the more people need that experience, the more the value of that increases in a monetary way. So your experience itself has some value. Your experience talking increases your value. And it's it is something that a lot of autistics have a hard time numerating, quantifying,
Yep.
and accepting that it's okay. Um,
That's the bigger one.
because yeah, I mean it's once you get past, like you need to balance between the volunteer stuff that you want to throw yourself into because you want to see it move forward, and you're okay with volunteering your time, but then there's also, you got to live, you got to pay, you got to eat food. So there's the more time you're spending on particular things, the more that value needs to be accounted for. And just these last 3 years, seeing the the positive effect of the things that I'm doing has really helped me accept that my time and my experience is worth something. It is separate from me as a person. As a person, I'm valued because I exist, and I value everybody that I meet and everybody that I hear about. I like we have that value that is hard for us to accept. So we got to accept that. We got to accept the personal value first. But once we can accept ourselves, then it's easier for us to understand that there's that additional value of the experience is that people are seeking right now. Now the
Yeah.
world has gone a particular way. It's been challenging, and the only way you can get out of the status quo is looking for the experience of people that are in the
The
weeds.
thick of it.
And
But there's
yeah,
two different types of experience as well, or a couple of different types of experience that we
yes,
should
yes,
lay out in that there is experience as an employee. So technical skills or, whatever that looks like. So your experience in a particular role, those types of things. That can also have its challenges around placing value because you could be, like I was for a while, trapped in a couple of different jobs that doesn't pay you your value, and you end
yeah,
up thinking that's what you're worth. Um, as an employee, I've never made above 40 to $45,000 a year because what I was trained to do did not lend itself to, a six-figure income. But then there's the other thing that we're trying to touch on, which is the value of lived experience and how that becomes expertise, right? So people who consider themselves consultants, experts, whatever, they only get that way by doing what they do over and over and over again, right? With different groups, and they learn different things and they learn about themselves. And every time I give a presentation on neurodiversity and advanced manufacturing, neurodivergence, I know, you make that face, and advanced manufacturing, I learned something that I could
Mhm.
change about the presentation that would, make it more meaningful and whatever.
Mhm.
But that has value in and of itself. And what came to mind
Yeah.
when we were talking about honorariums, if somebody comes to you, and I'll back up for a second in that we recently attended an event, and I won't name the event, but I felt there was a huge amount of tokenism this particular event, disappointingly so. And the things that could have happened to change when we are making decisions, when we are making policies, when we are creating strategies, when we're building programs, when we're doing anything like us building NanoWorks. We don't do that in a
Mhm.
vacuum. We do that with the participation of the individuals that we're trying to support. And that has value. So we've hired Maddie a couple of different times for different things because there's value in not only their experience in the technology world, but their experience as an autistic individual. And I don't think one was greater than the other because the insights that we gained from you as an autistic user versus you as an individual with technology experience provided equal uh, improvement to what we're doing. So the reason I share that is I don't want people to undervalue if you're one of those individuals who got through high school or college and didn't get a chance to work yet, there is other experience that has value that can move you towards a paid position
Mhm.
of some description. That takes time. It is a little
Mhm.
harder to figure out, but it is a thing,
Yeah.
right? And it's,
And volunteer experience is experience. Like
yeah,
when businesses are looking, um, so I've run many businesses, and when I look at resumes, I'm looking at what experience you've had that could help me, that can make my business run better. I'm not. I've Me and many other businesses haven't really cared as much about education as opposed to application. Like what are you doing? What difference have you made in the places that you're going? I my When I started changing my resume back in my employee days, my mom and I did a sort of a very different way of doing a resume. I didn't talk about the places I was and what programs I use in different places. I talked about different projects I was on in those things and what we did,
yeah,
because that's what businesses are looking for. They're looking for what can you do to help me, and what experience can you demonstrate that shows that, hey, you can do something like that for me. Um,
yeah.
and
Temple
it
Grandin
like
talks
we
about that a lot, right? She talks
Yeah.
that she had a really interesting talk with my son. I was fortunate to meet Dr. Grandin in 2018.
Before the pandemic, dun dun dun.
Well, so truth, my mom was in hospital at the same time. So it was a bit of a, and she was in the
Yeah.
ICU and whatever. So the experience, unfortunately, is slightly overshadowed by that. But one of Dr. Grandin's biggest recommendations is an experiential portfolio, right? So
Mhm.
not just saying or putting a line about what you did, but actually having a portfolio available
Mhm.
to show
Yeah.
what you've created. Now, that might sound overwhelming,
Mhm.
but there's ways to create experiential portfolios, just like Maddie's talking about with project-based resume.
Yeah.
And I think we fall into the trap of thinking resumes can only be functional, chronological, or like a full curriculum vitae, which
Yeah.
curriculum vitae, all that is fancy pants for people who have had multiple degrees and published papers. And
Yeah.
if you are applying for that kind of position, it's unlikely that you are worried about finding your value.
Yes.
Luckily,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
well established. And so the other thing that Maddie said
Go-
earlier, which prompted me to
Government
press,
federal government things though are always looking for that damn CV, and they're expecting 10 pages. Oh,
I know it's nuts.
oh.
But you tailor your
Yeah.
Interestingly, I've never said this way before, but you tailor your resume around the value you want to provide, or you know that you
Yeah.
can provide, right? So it's never a
Yeah.
situation where you would send the same resume out to 10 different jobs because unless they were exactly the same job,
Yeah.
but if you
Like
are
McDonald's,
sending
Burger King, Wendy's.
right, right. If you're all
Yeah.
of you want to do is flip burgers, which is an amazing job, and thank you to those folks who are in food services and doing that because I would be hungry
Thank you,
more.
daughter Madeline.
Uh, thank you to
My daughter Madeline, who works at McDonald's.
oh, thank you, Madeline. Very
Yes,
much
I haven't
appreciate
met
it. I
you.
mean, I haven't personally eaten in a McDonald's in 7 years, but that's another story. So, oh, you did the rabbit fufu, and now I'm messed. So sorry, the
Sorry.
value-based resume. So one of the things that got us talking was yeah, was Maddie pointed out that I have been struggling a bit for a couple of months. Um, and it is partly around value in that, I have to make some changes and clarify some things. And it's scary, right? Because that comes, down to a few things. Another thing that happened, which probably speaks better to something like this, my business partner Jason has a great saying, and I don't think it was his, but I can't give credit to where credit's due right now. And it's instead of getting furious, it's time to get curious.
Mm.
And so I had a situation with Airbnb, and it was pretty awful. And I won't go into the details, but the lunatic that we had to cancel our booking with messaged me, and this was a couple of weeks ago now, messaged me again this morning. And no idea what this whack job is trying to do, but started calling me names and attacking my personal values and whatever. And initially, I got really mad because my whole thing is being an honest, helpful um, leader, right?
Yeah.
Like I
Straightforward.
don't try and it's very straightforward.
Yeah.
Surprisingly not autistic, but anyway, because I am like bluntly straightforward.
But neurodivergent, possibly.
Oh no, I
Or
am
PhD.
neurodivergent because you've been
Oh,
trying to get me to say that because I have ADD. But anyway, that's another story.
it's on
So
record now.
speaking, such diva. So I tell everybody I'm ADD, whether they deal with it or not. It's up to them.
Yeah.
Um,
It all adds up.
so this woman, it really bothered me, right? And it was really early in the morning, and I've been having a rough few weeks for a variety of reasons. But then I started listening to a great podcast, insert irony here, and it was the fact that she attacked my core values and called into question whether I'm a good
Yeah.
person. And, I did
Mhm.
something wrong, whatever, whatever. Now, I don't know this person from a hole in the ground. Like, I've never met them. They turned into a giant wingnut while we were driving to our destination. So, never met the person. But even that, even not having met them, the fact that they attacked my personal value
Yeah.
and my personal worth and, attacked that.
Yeah.
So I decided to get curious. Why did that bother me so much? And that's what I came up with is that my whole thing is about the world knowing that my value lies in
Mhm.
honesty and being a good person and never trying to hurt anyone intentionally. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't take no shit and I'll shank you as soon as look at you if you do something to me or my family. But I'm also that person you want in a foxhole. That's part of my value as well.
Yes.
So when
Absolutely.
we talk about value, there's a variety of ways to look at that. What prompted this was Maddie having the revelation that they understand their value when it comes to making a living off of their
Mhm.
lived, I shouldn't say off of, but with or through sharing their
Yes.
speaks
Yeah.
around lived experience. So that's why we differentiated about experience as well,
Yeah.
because I was talking to somebody and they devalued lived experience for some reason as not being as pertinent as work experience or whatever. I'm like, that
Oh
depends
my God.
on Well, no, and that's fair because
Yeah.
society as a
Yeah.
whole doesn't place a whole lot of, right? Or it gets
Yeah.
disguised as a consultant, or it gets disguised as an advisor,
Yeah.
or it gets disguised.
Well,
And folks, all
exactly.
of that is just lived experience.
Yeah. Like honestly, like when you're working in a job and uh you're learning a
Or
skill
volunteering.
and you're growing that skill. Yeah, I'm going to use work for a second, but like okay, so in anything when you're doing a task and you're learning a skill and you're growing that skill and you're seeing other opportunities to harness that skill, right? That's experience. So
Yep.
lived experience is a very similar thing because what we're not we're harnessing our life as we go through it and the different challenges. And when we get through those challenges, we have the experience to talk about the positive and the negative, what worked, what didn't work, because inherently most people, especially people with disabilities, they don't want to see others experience the same negatives that they did. That's the
Mm.
whole reason why lived experience is so valuable, is because society has racked up the treatment of people with disabilities for centuries. And now we're trying to get it right. And the only way we can get it right is
Did you say
talking to the
fracked
people
up?
that lived it. I did say fracked up. Yeah. Yeah,
You
I
dirty
did.
bird.
I figured that was
But
I figured that was a good Battlestar Galactica reference.
you can go with fork. I mean, that's the only swear word I'm not on. I mean, I say that word a lot, but not on the radio.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
I
So
have a bit of
I
a
figured.
sailor mouth, people. But that's all right. What did you call it the
Yeah,
other
yeah.
day?
Wait till we listen to Autistic Rambler after dark.
It'll be you, mother smurfing son of a forker. Um,
Yeah, exactly. We'll put the Samuel L. Jackson filter on.
oh, honey, I could so embrace that. Um, anyway, so when we get no, that's I mean, here's one thing. So, Maddie just gave me the little rabbit foo-foo moment, but and whether it's to make people who swear a lot feel better about the fact that they swear a lot, because I have an extensive vocabulary. I was fortunate to be raised by two individuals that placed great value on communication and the English language. My parents didn't use euphemisms for things. There was no soft spots
Yeah.
for certain things. And so one of the values they placed on was good communication. So it's much to my mother's horror that I swear at all. Um, but I just sometimes you just need a good fork. And sometimes there's two ways that I will embrace the value of communication. Depends on how angry I am.
Mhm.
And if I'm still able to swear, and if I am still able to whatever, then that's great. And it's likely to be a bit of a dust up and then it'll be done. If I get very quiet and I get very
Mm,
succinct and my speech becomes clipped and
yeah.
my vocabulary does strange
Yeah.
things, then those are you need to clear the bomb radius.
Clear the path.
So
Clear the path.
clear the path. Because to
Yeah.
me, there is huge value in being straightforward. There is huge value
Yeah.
in not having an agenda. And that's one thing that I think works well for me in working with the autism community
Mhm.
is that they never I am a bit sarcastic, which I have to watch because sometimes that can get that's not great. But
Yeah.
overall, I say what I mean and I mean what I say. And there's no other agenda going on.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
that
the
sounds like
the
so
agenda is
strategic.
clear. That's the thing. The agenda is clear in front of you. You're
Yeah,
following the agenda that you have, as opposed to other people who the agenda is not given to you ahead
can
of
be a bit
time, and you have to
nefarious.
figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so one of the things we're trying to encourage folks with this value conversation is that, pardon me, and this takes me back to what you were saying before, that yes, so neurodivergent as far as being ADD, but I have no experience living an autistic life. Even my
Mhm.
son, I do not live in his shoes. I am on the,
Yeah.
he's extremely, so what I'm about to say involves nothing to do with his behavior, because he is extremely verbal and generous and kind and empathetic and chatty and funny and whatever. But I am on the periphery of his diagnosis. I claim no first person understanding. The only thing, which we covered in a previous podcast, that I can even come close to claiming an understanding of is sensory issue after my ear surgery,
Yeah.
when the noise came in and battled me
Yeah.
around a bit. I
Yeah.
have
You're
so
yeah.
people
Your
like
lived
Maddie,
experience as a parent. Yeah, your lived
pardon
experience
me.
is your lived experience. Okay, don't discount your own lived experience, but
Oh no,
it's a
no.
different layer. As
As
a
a
it's as
parent,
a parent
yeah,
and dealing with
yeah.
advanced systems. But yeah, you're right. Like the lived experience of autistics is only something that is fully understood by those
As
who
an
are
autistic,
living in it
yeah.
inside our minds and
And that's what
bodies.
you were saying before, and that's what we're trying to impress the value is that with the growth of, so the events we've attended, that you and I attended, but then we also did some events on top of that, Paulette and I, and who's my other business partner, and she's on our Future Looks Good podcast. Um, I can only speak to it because I am lucky enough to have individuals like Maddie, to have individuals like our board members, to have individuals that I have worked with Autism Job Club and other areas be willing to share their experience. And I have the ability to then personalize that and go, okay, well, this is how that could feel or could, whatever. And then I'm able to share it. Um, and giving credit to where it's due. So I think what we need to do as a society is stop dismissing lived experience as being honorarium worthy, because folks, that's
Yeah,
full shorts. And we can't continue to do that because these are individuals we need to hear from. These are individuals
yeah,
we must hear from. And if you don't have the thing that torqued me off with not, an event I've been involved with is that they found money to pay certain people certain amounts, then did not find the money to pay the autistic individuals, the panel members, and whatever, an appropriate rate. That bugs me. That bugs me because you either fit the panel to fit the budget so that people are getting paid appropriately, or you raise more money, raise the ticket
mhm,
prices, do whatever you got to do. Because when we start to demonstrate to individuals through the use of language of, we are going to pay you this much,
yeah,
or please tell us how much your rate is. So if you have been approached to share your lived experience and the conversation is, oh, and we have an honorarium for you of $50, your response is, well, my rate is $90 an hour or $110 an hour or whatever the going rate is
yeah,
for similar situations. And the language influences the outcome.
yeah,
You don't want to continue to use the word honorarium in the conversation because honorariums are given as a token of appreciation,
yeah.
not as a way of paying
Now,
somebody.
there is a caveat that I want to address for those of us who are on disability, like provincial
No,
disability
and yeah,
assistance,
I know.
right? Like, so there's an amount we can make as income, and then there's an amount that we can have as honorariums or gifts. And it's so when it's phrased as an honorarium, there's nothing clawed back from it. When it's, if it's given as income, um, so the
You should be given the
if
choice.
honorariums are small paltry things, okay, but you're right. Really, the value of lived experience should be treated at the same level as the value
100%.
of experience. I talk the first podcast that you and I did way back. We were talking about the Journal of
Yep.
Autism.
Autism equity
Um,
and
yeah, I talked about, we need to, there's the table that's on a stage. We need to build a ramp to it, but we got to make sure that, that it's there's accommodation so everybody can be around the table. We're all equal at the table, right? We're
Yep.
all, they hold nothing about us without us. There's lived experience, there's parental experience, there's clinical experience, there's research experience, there's the policymakers. We're all together. So the value, um, the value, the monetary value of that experience needs to be raised up so that it's not like otherwise that we're still token members and
There
it's
needs to be equity.
I yeah it's equity exactly what it is. And as I said, I've been seeing over the last 3 years this mindset shifting in a lot of organizations that this is that it's not just important to get people lived experience to the table, but it's important to pay them. And like I
And
was
be transparent
part
about
of
that,
the
because that will then
yeah
inspire other organizations to understand. If leading
yeah
organizations in autism are not transparent and putting the value out there, then you're leading the way for employers to not do that, for employers to
exactly
undervalue neurodivergent individuals.
yeah yeah we don't
I'm
want
working on,
those sheltered environments like the sheltered income stuff. Like it's I get so angry when people say, well, they're able to do stuff, they're having fun, they're working. It's like, yeah, but other people doing the same job are getting 6 times the amount.
yeah,
It's like it's it's not it's not fair to just have them doing stuff, right? If they're doing stuff that's
it's
productive,
providing
that is
value.
helping them,
Yep.
then pay the damn people what they're worth.
We
And
had this
it's just
conversation we were at an advanced manufacturing trade show a year or two ago, and we're going back. We've already connected and going back. It was a great experience. What was interesting is that so through Socially ASD and Spiro Careers Canada, we have a funding project with the National Research Council of Canada and IRAP, which is the Innovation and Research Accessibility Program. And we are doing a 1 year funded project on neurodiversity within advanced manufacturing and trades to encourage neurodivergent individuals to pursue careers in trades and uh, advanced manufacturing roles, and to educate employers and de-risk and demystify that process. So this individual comes up to the table telling me, waxing poetically even, about the value this autistic individual was bringing to their team. And in the next breath, so what kind of subsidy programs do you have so I could hire another autistic individual? I had to look at the floor for a second to collect myself and went, okay. I said, you've just done an amazing job at sharing with me your experience with working with an autistic individual and the productivity and, the great stuff they brought to the team. Oh, thank you. I said, so you have a job available? Yes. You have to fill it anyway? Yes. You would be paying that person full rate and whatever? Yes. So why should another autistic individual need a subsidy program to incentivize you to hire them to fill the job you already have available? Oh, like they look like I'd shot them between the eyes.
I know. Like if you're basically saying you wouldn't need a subsidy program for a neurotypical person, but you feel you do for a neurodivergent, you've just showed your attitude. Like
No,
you've
the,
done.
the
Oh,
the incongruity was that they already had a neurodivergent individual on their team
yeah,
with no subsidy in place, but
I
to
know.
hire another neurodivergent individual, where was the subsidy for that? And I was like, well, wait a minute, Bucko. Like you just made the case for how, like he was very animated and excited, which is amazing. Where did the, what now? Like, I need a moment to process what just came out of your mouth because it just does not match. And those take me a second because then I cannot say what I immediately want to say, which is, you dumbass, did you hear yourself? Because that's rude. I have learned.
Oh,
Um,
yes, yes, yes.
so that's, I'm in a position, I am in a fortunate position that we are on the ground level of making some serious change happen for Canadians across Canada, autistic Canadians, neurodivergent Canadians across Canada. And I'm so grateful for that. But then sometimes also feel like a dung beetle pushing a ball of shit up a hill because you're like, and then some other bug comes along
Yeah,
and like whacks your ball of poo because,
yeah.
they say
And then
something
you've been,
stupid and you're like,
yeah.
is that?
Then you've been there, done that. I said, then you've been there,
And they're
done
dung
that.
that. I know. Dung, dung, dung. She's been done so long. Anyway, I won't do that. We do break out in song.
We do.
So where value can start. I listened to a really interesting podcast that I'm going to share with you, Maddie, and I should have shared it. And it's I listened to a podcast. There's a point to this called The Knowledge Project with Shane Parrish. And he had an individual on, I believe Carolyn Coughlin is her name, and she talks about communication and whatever. But she also talks about how language influences opportunity and value. And
Mm.
for an example, when you are getting to ready to start job seeking and whatever, it's a very daunting process, or you're getting ready to start your
Yeah.
own business, which I'm on business number 3 or 4. I'm here to tell you that dung beetle thing isn't
Same.
far off. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's all in how you approach that value conversation. And one of her things was when you have tasks to do, you know, I want to get my email inbox tidied up. I want to get, right? It's that positive thing versus saying I have to. I want to create a great value-based resume that demonstrates what I can provide to an employer because I want to get the best job possible.
Mhm.
Not, oh, I have to make a resume because I got to get a job.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you don't want to eat spam for the rest of your life, and I mean, I'm sure spam has value somewhere, just not in my kitchen, then want to talk about your value. Like, how do we get people to a point where they want to talk about their value? Because you've had to
And
go through quite
that's
a process
actually,
for that.
yeah. I mean, this is, I think, um, one of the big things that I'm, wanting to work with other autistic advocates, other autistic adults and youth. It's identity and confidence in who you are, knowing who you are, knowing what your needs are, knowing where your strengths are. When you do that, then it's easier to find out how to ask or tell people. And so when you're working for a job, you're telling people about yourself.
Yeah.
When you get a job, then you need to talk, then you need to, share and ask about your accommodations. But I think the more I know myself more now in my 40s than I did in my 20s. I just did stuff. And I did amazing things and amazing successes and horrible failures and really big gaps between them. In the 30s, it was sort of like I trying to find that balance and then finally getting a diagnosis, which really then led me into my 40s, understanding more about who I am and um, knowing, being comfortable with myself as I am now, knowing that I still need to grow. There's a lot of areas where,
We all do.
I could be better at. But it's really, um, this is why like, acceptance is so huge, and inclusion and accommodations when they're younger, because the more you're aware of yourself and you can talk about your needs and you can talk about your strengths, you're going to be able to project that and present that when you're looking for employment, whether it's starting your own business or whether it's working for somebody else.
Yep.
I find that a lot of the time where like autistics have a struggle in finding, getting, growing in work, or keeping it. Those four areas are huge challenges for us. But the more we are comfortable with who we are, then when we find something, it's easier to get. When we get something, it's easier for us to sustain it. And when we're comfortable with ourselves and knowing what our strengths are, we can learn to grow in that work. But it really it's that struggle to understand who you are and your value. And because
Mm.
most of us are fighting with years of that value being suppressed, either internally or externally.
Yeah,
But we have value.
I think there's also value in talking about the fact that there's value inside the diagnosis, but there's value outside the diagnosis.
Exactly.
Because, you autism is not everything an individual is.
Yeah.
And I think that's where and it takes, so folks, here's the other thing, and we're going to wrap up shortly, but this is the other thing that these conversations around value and understanding yourself and what have you take effort. And I understand that sometimes with my son anyway, there is a disconnect between the perceived level of effort required, the level of effort administered, and the actual level of effort needed. And so that's where asking for help is a good idea because the other individual is going to be able to give you a more realistic picture of where you're currently at in understanding your value and maybe some work you need to do in understanding that better
Yeah.
and what the actual effort required is going to be to achieve the goal that hopefully you set. And, and that's part of it as well. Is somebody forcing you to recognize your value, or are you at a place in your life where you realize you need to determine your value? And if you don't struggle with this at all, ye frackin' who, like that's great. I said frackin', I didn't say the other word. What? Stop laughing at me.
I'm just thinking of the podcast titles very soon to be called Beware the Frackens.
Oh, maybe I'll watch that tonight. That was a good movie.
Oh yeah.
Funny frou frou. Um, it takes effort, right? So much like it takes effort for us to put on these podcasts and pull from our lived experience and, our value of what we do. If you want to move out of where you are into something better or different, it takes effort. Discovering your
Yeah.
value, I have done years of work on that. And it's
Mm,
not that and I'll clarify this. I have always been a confident person, always. It's
mm,
just how I was made. And,
yeah.
bordering on cocky sometimes. It never occurs to me to not try something ever.
Yeah. Persistence
And
and resilience. Yeah.
just is, right? I
Yeah.
came out of the womb fighting. Like it just doesn't occur to me not to stand up for somebody. Doesn't occur to
Hmm.
me. It just doesn't occur to me.
Yeah.
When I had to start putting value on my time and my skills as an entrepreneur, that's the first time, and I was in my 40s, that I had a little bit of crisis of confidence because it is much harder when you are putting yourself forward as an entrepreneur or even in like speaking gigs that Maddie's doing now. It's a challenge, but you will get there. I guarantee you there are people in your network
Yeah.
who can help you figure that out. Look to people that you admire who are currently doing what you'd like to do
Hmm.
and reasonable effort, obviously, or not reasonable effort, but reasonable expectations for everybody. I don't
Yeah.
expect to be the next Helen Mirren by any stretch
Yeah.
or the next, what's his face? Who's the Microsoft guy? Bill Gates.
Bill Gates. Bill
Um,
Gates. Yeah.
Melinda Gates. I would like to be the next Melinda Gates. That would be all right.
Uh,
It might be a bit of a harder transition, but um, you're welcome. Tranny joke. So
yeah.
it
Yeah. That
just,
was a joke with the Microsoft landing.
oh, well done. You outpunned me. Um,
Uh,
Value comes in many shapes and sizes. It comes in many ways. Experience is the same way. It's not just work experience. It's not just volunteer experience. It's not just lived
yeah. It's like
experience,
a palette.
especially, pardon me?
It's like a palette.
Yeah, it's like a paint palette, right? Where you have all kinds of things that you can dib and dab from. And, but it does take time. Like we're not trying
Yeah.
to say in any way, shape, or form that this is an immediate thing. Um, but
Yeah.
if you
I
are
mean,
also in a
last
position, sorry, Maddie, go.
Go ahead.
Just if you're in a position where you're being devalued and you know that, ask for help. Because unfortunately, like Maddie said earlier, the devaluing of neurodivergent people happens at a very young age and in various insidious ways. You don't
Mhm.
even recognize it, right? And I saw that with my son when he was little. Once we had his diagnosis, things changed and not for the better. Um, because people then placed their value on him
Yeah.
versus discovering what his value is.
Yeah.
And
It replaced value with stigma.
yes, 100% agree. And if it weren't, if he doesn't have the mother that he does, because, we'll go back to take no pukaka, he would still believe that stuff. He started to believe
Yeah.
that stuff. And that I was
Yeah.
like, nope, we're done.
It is a constant struggle as a parent of autistics or a parent of anybody with disabilities. Um, like you are raising your kids with grace and understanding in your home
Yeah.
and out in the world, especially in schools, that is many times undone, and you have to oh constantly try
You
to
got to pick him back
like
up.
put yeah, and like dust them off and help them reset their color palette again, so that they can see the value in themselves again. It's just
Yeah.
it is heartbreaking when your kids say that they're broken, that they're wrong, that they need to be fixed, and it's not them. It's the system around them that
Yeah.
just does not understand them, and because they don't understand them, they don't value them. They don't support them.
They teach them that
Yeah,
they're going to
that's a
need
whole other
help
topic.
for the rest of their life. And that's not the case.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
my son was learned helplessness because
Yeah.
of an educational
That's,
assistant who had, his best interest at heart, she thought. Um,
yeah.
that undermines your value because if you believe that you can't do anything on your own,
Yeah.
then that has all kinds of other ramifications. And what that ties into, which we're going to wrap up with, is one of the things we're working on is a parenting program to help parents stop creating learned helplessness in their kids. Because
Yeah.
when you teach your child that you have to do everything for them because it's easier and, this, that, and the other, you're teaching them that they
Yeah.
have no value.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we can't.
Like the,
We just can't.
yeah, it's like parents are overwhelmed, but we
Well, their
have to do the
capacity.
things that are going to help them. I mean, I talk about like when my kids get to be 16, 17, I start teaching them how to adult, because
Yep.
at the age of 18, regardless of of their capacity for different things, they are legally responsible for stuff. So I want them to be as prepared as possible so that when they have to take ownership of their choices, they
Yep.
they know what they need to, they know what that they can do things, and they know where they need to get support, because like the reality is, as autistics, we're in some ways, we're going to need support at sometimes. For some things it'll ebb and flow, but we have the ability to do a lot. And the more we're given support in these areas, the more we're going to be able to do these things. And we so many times, you give the whole label system of autistics really is part of this whole thing, because we put low expectations on people who we think have are low functioning, so therefore low value, and then those who we put high expectations on those who are considered high functioning, and we put a little bit more value to them, but
Yeah.
still not more value
There's no
compared
parity.
to other people. And the
Yeah.
thing is, really, these whole label things are absolutely useless, because we have strengths. Every one of us has strengths and challenges, and our value is outside of that and inside of that.
Just say I think it's a sum of that, but it's interesting that you we keep saying we're going to wrap up, but this podcast I was listening to,
Fourth time, by the way, you
uh,
said that.
I know, I'm trying, but it ties in. The host of the podcast was describing their son, and their son um, argues to win, or no, listens to win. Sorry, is was
Yeah.
the language that they used because they're always looking for a reason to correct somebody or make
Mhm.
sure they have it right. So he continues to describe this kid, and my Audidar is going off like bananas. And
Uh-huh.
he's talking about the social challenges that this creates and how the kid can't pick up the social cues that people don't want him to listen to win. And he's not picking up social this and friendships are, I know, right? And friendships aren't happening because he listens to win and whatever. And I was like, oh, honey, do you understand what community you just joined? They're also in denial because just as frequently was he's really highly intelligent. He's highly intelligent.
Oh,
Okay.
God, yeah.
Him having a deficit doesn't mean his whole being isn't worthwhile. It
Yes.
just means,
Oh,
by the way, he's likely autistic. And I'm going to send a message to
like
Shane Parrish because,
autism is not a negative word. It's,
right?
autism is not a negative. It's a collection of strengths and challenges. Like, the definition, to get the diagnosis means that you need to be impaired in particular areas. But that, the thing is, there are characteristics that we have, and sometimes they're greatly positive, and
Yeah.
sometimes they're hugely challenging. Like, autism can impact other experiences that we're having, and especially other coexisting conditions that we may have. But if the world didn't have autistics, most of the creative stuff, most of the structure and order that exists in the world would be gone. And it's
Listening.
that's one of the reasons why I talk about using strength-based language when you're talking about autism and disabilities in general, because it's an attitude thing. It's an attitude. A diagnosis doesn't mean a negative. A diagnosis means fact.
Hang on.
You
Okay. Okay. Had a moment.
you have a jaw. You look like your jaw just dropped.
I just unhinged like a boa constrictor because
Yes.
I used to teach. Okay. Interesting. So, autism on its own is two different words, by the way. No, no, no. This goes back to what you're saying because this collection of
Okay.
strengths and challenges inside and outside and whatever. Has
Yeah.
anybody ever looked up what the two words combined, right? So there's a prefix and a suffix that are combined to
Own world.
create autism.
Yeah,
Okay?
I believe it's own world. Yeah.
O means other, right?
Yes. Oh, I thought it was own, not other.
Hang on.
Like, autism means you're in own world.
Oat. Well, so it's AUT. So oat is other, and then ism just completes the word essentially. I have to figure this out. Oh, so
I, I,
interesting.
I like so I there's a definition that I found someplace, and I have to figure out where I got this from. But autistic is the state of being oneself in our own time and space.
Yes, but that's if you break it down. So I used to teach terminology, medical terminology. So this is why
Mhm.
this is fascinating me a little bit because when we went back for a second to tie it all together, language creates being, right? So language can influence our choices. I want to do
Yep.
this versus I have to do this. This person is
Mhm.
capable of this versus I have to do this for this person. This person,
Yep.
I
And no
have,
shoulds. And no shoulds.
yeah, shut up. I have no time to do this versus I am building capacity to do this, right? So there's that whole
Yeah.
mental thing. So if
Yes.
the actual word
Proactive speaking.
autism means being other, then that entire word creates a negative from the moment it's diagnosed.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
okay. I haven't heard it described that way. The way I've um was taught like 20 years ago. is that like autism means like own world. Like so the word autism translated in several different language. That's generally
Yeah.
the gist of it. Somebody
Yeah, no, if you
being
look at it here, yeah, so Wikipedia, for
oneself.
an example, the suffix ism, taking side with or imitation of other.
Hmm.
Oh, we need to get into that. Okay, we're going to
It's a
wrap up because we
mass.
could go on like this forever.
Okay.
Um, but know that those strengths and values or strengths and challenges that come together to create who you are have value. Know that absolutely, as Maddie
Mhm.
said, when it comes to being paid, if you happen to be on ODSP or there's financial limitations, yes, an honorarium may be the right choice for you, but know that you should have
Yeah.
that choice, that
Yeah. And
you should be
actually, like,
given.
yeah, if there's an honorarium or if it's like no a payment or whatever it is, the value the amount should be the same. How you do it,
Yeah,
it should be
yeah,
the flexibility.
yes, absolutely. But you should be asked what works best for you.
Yeah.
The first question you should be asked is, what's your rate? And then how
Yeah.
you get paid is a different story because it has to work for the
Yeah.
individual. And overall,
Yeah.
when it comes to value, when we place expectations on people and we believe they are capable, it influences the value they see in
Mhm.
themselves. And we have to be very cognizant of the fact that language influences opportunity. And you want to be in a position where you are using strengths-based language. And we're not
Mhm.
saying don't ever say anything mean and that everybody deserves
Yeah.
first place, because that's forking crazy. But what we are saying is that use more positive language.
Mhm.
My one thing I used to say to my son a lot was, I wouldn't get mad at you if I didn't think you were capable of more.
Yeah. I
But
I
somebody said
think
that to me.
what I
I kid you, I was an employee for Cultures when Culture, I don't even know if Cultures is still a thing. And one of my managers, and I was 21, so that's, a couple of decades ago, said to me, I wouldn't get mad at you if I didn't think you could do better. And
yeah, yeah,
took that. I took
yeah,
that and used that in a variety of ways. And I used it with my own son
yeah,
and said, if I didn't think you were capable of more, I wouldn't waste my breath.
yeah.
But you are.
I I teach intentional speaking. So,
Yeah.
it and one of the ways to be intentional with what you're speaking in crises is to, practice what you're going to say of different scenarios beforehand. Get in mind the things that the right way of speaking, like talking to the mirror, daily affirmations. But like the more intentional you are with your speech, the better it's going to be communicated, and then your value will flow from that.
Well, in the end, to wrap up, your value flows from you. So if
Yeah.
you struggle to see your value and you struggle how to share your value and you struggle to advocate for your value, start there, because
Yeah.
other people, it is not their job to give you your value. Value is what they call
Yeah.
intrinsic. That is something that is inside of you. And if
Yeah.
you look for extrinsic or outside of you validation of that, you will always be disappointed.
Yep.
It's just the nature
The
of the
rug will
beast.
be pulled
So,
out from underneath you. Lucy will
what's
pull the
that?
football. I said
Lucy
the
will
rug
pull
will
the
be
football
pulled on. Yeah, Lucy will pull the
damn
football,
straight. And you will Charlie Brown that and land on your ass.
and you'll end
And our
up with
goal is to keep
peanuts.
you off your ass. Yeah. Because trust me, when you fall on your ass, you can break your elbow, which I did. It's not fun. By the way, that's
Yeah.
exactly what it was. Lucy pulled the football while I was on roller skates and kabam. Super not fun. So thank you so much for listening, everybody. And I know we tangented a bit, but overall, there's value, there's value in what we're saying.
Yeah.
There's value in the experience that we're sharing with you. And please don't ever think that we have anything but the best of intentions around providing that information and that experience. From a semi neurodivergent individual. And Maddie and I have talked about this, but that's another podcast. And then Maddie from their perspective. So let us know. If you're feeling kind of
Yep.
commenty, you can put something in there. Otherwise, next Wednesday, I'll
Yeah.
surprise Maddie with it. We're going to record now. And, we'll get
Yeah.
shit done.
And I'll
All
end
right.
with jazz hands.
Jazz hands that nobody can see. Okay. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate your time. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Thank you for joining us on Across the Desk and our new series, The Autistic Rambler. Please visit spirocareerscanada.ca to learn more about the tools we're building with the autism community, and please visit theautisticrambler.com to learn more about Maddie Dever.